14th of November, 2018, at precisely 3:14 in the afternoon, the village of Blackwood experienced a total solar eclipse. This event was not predicted by any astronomical observatory on Earth. It was not recorded by meteorological satellites. And, most unnervingly, it was only visible within a 3-mile radius. The darkness lasted for exactly 72 seconds. When the light returned, the authorities found a cosmic mystery waiting for them at the local library.
Dispatch, this is Unit 4. We are at the county library. The caller is, he is gone. There's just a book on the desk. But, the shadows in this room, dispatch, they are all pointing towards the book. Not away from the window, towards the book. It's freezing in here.
The officer who made that transmission was found wandering the woods 3 days later, entirely blind, repeating a single phrase in medieval Latin. The object recovered from the desk was quickly secured as a declassified manuscript, known in restricted circles as the Silent Sun Codex. But the true horror of Blackwood Library was not what was left behind. It was what the Codex erased. Security cameras showed 12 people inside the building when the eclipse began. Yet, when investigators checked the town's census, birth certificates, and tax records, none of those 12 people had ever existed. To understand the event at Blackwood, we must trace the origin of the artifact. The first recorded mention of this lost manuscript does not appear in any public historical registry. It is buried deep within the restricted vaults of the Vatican secret archives, catalogued under a purely numerical designation, Index Obscura, Item 7A. According to ecclesiastical records from the winter of 1348, an obscure monastic order known as the Brethren of the Umbra resided in the Bavarian Alps. They were not scribes of God, they were custodians of forbidden knowledge. The Vatican documents describe the physical properties of the Codex. It is composed of 72 pages of vellum. However, modern tests conducted covertly in the 1970s revealed that the material is not animal hide. In fact, it lacks cellular structure entirely. Furthermore, the ink absorbs 99.9% of visible light. To look at the text is to stare into a profound, chilling void. But the true danger lay not in its composition, but in its function. The Brethren were tasked with translating it, and as they did, a paranormal phenomenon began to manifest within the stone walls of their abbey.
8th of December. I spoke with Brother Thaddeus at dawn. We broke bread, but at Vespers I went to his cell, and there was no cell. The stone wall was solid, undisturbed. I asked the abbot where Thaddeus had gone, and he looked at me with hollow eyes. "Who is Thaddeus?" he asked. "The book. It does not take our lives. It takes our history. It feeds on consequence."
The diary of Brother Alaric is the only surviving record of the Brethren. When papal inquisitors arrived at the abbey in 1351 to investigate rumors of heresy, they did not find a massacre. They found architecture that made no logical sense, hallways that looped endlessly, dining tables set for 40 men in a monastery built to house only 10, and sitting on the altar, untouched by the thick dust that coated the rest of the chapel, was the Codex. The Vatican sealed the artifact away. It remained in darkness for nearly 6 centuries, a dormant parasite. But in 1944, an Allied bombing raid struck the annex above the secret vault. When the dust settled, the vault was open. The lead-lined lockbox was empty. The perimeter was secured instantly. There were no footprints leading away from the pedestal. Investigators noted, however, that there were several sets of ashen footprints leading directly into the remaining ashes of the pedestal. As if the thieves hadn't stolen the book had absorbed the thieves. 74 years after the Vatican theft, the Codex resurfaced in Blackwood. Within 6 hours of the initial police report, a specialized containment unit from our department arrived. The extraction team consisted of 5 individuals, 4 tactical operatives and 1 lead anomalous materials researcher, Dr. Richard Harcourt. Their objective was simple: secure the perimeter, log the artifact, and place it within a lead-lined lockbox. A routine procedure for Archive 0. But they vastly underestimated the reality warping field generated by the open manuscript. The first anomaly was physical. When Dr. Harcourt approached the desk, he noted that the deep burn marks in the wood were not burns at all. The table was perfectly smooth. What the police officer had mistaken for charred wood was, in fact, a permanent, three-dimensional shadow, etched into the physical world, defying all laws of optics. Then came the impossible discovery. The codex possessed absolute zero mass. It did not merely lack weight, it rejected the very concept of physical presence in our universe. It was a mathematical error made manifest in paper and ink.
Log entry, 3:22 a.m. The text, "It is changing." The geometric symbols are reorganizing themselves as I look away. I just instructed Operative Miller to retrieve the secondary containment case, but I cannot find Miller. The tactical feed shows only 4 active life signs in the building, myself and 3 operatives.
Dr. Harcourt consulted the mission manifest on his tablet. There were only 4 names listed. There had never been an Operative Miller. The team had always been a squad of 4. The unexplained disappearance of a team member is a crisis. The retroactive erasure of a team member's entire existence is an apocalyptic containment breach. The Codex was acting as a temporal centrifuge. Those who focused on the text for too long did not just die. The universe simply corrected the timeline to accommodate a reality where they had never been born. At 3:45 a.m., the tactical radios went dead. Dr. Harcourt was entirely alone in the reading room. He held the comms unit, desperately calling out to the squad.
Is anyone there? Please God, command, answer me. There are extra hazmat suits on the floor. 3 empty suits fully zipped up laying on the wood, but there's no one inside them. Why did I bring 3 extra suits? I came here alone. I was dispatched alone. Why am I talking into this microphone?
Dr. Harcourt had forgotten his own team. The timeline had rewritten itself to justify his isolation. The empty hazmat suits were the only physical remnants of men who now, fundamentally, did not exist. Realizing his own memories were unraveling, Harcourt did the only thing he could. He activated his body camera, walked towards the open book, and looked directly into the dark pages. He sought to understand the void before it consumed him. The footage cuts out exactly at the moment the eclipse over Blackwood officially ended. When backup teams arrived the next morning, they found the library completely empty. No bodies, no empty suits, no book. Only a solitary body camera, resting perfectly upright on an unburned desk. Archive 0 successfully recovered the footage. But we did not recover Dr. Richard Harcourt. He, like the 12 citizens of Blackwood, was entirely redacted from the timeline. I am the only archivist who remembers him, shielded only by the lead-lined walls of this facility. The anomaly at Blackwood Library was classified, buried, and officially erased. The public was fed a narrative about a local power outage, but the Codex of the Silent Sun cannot be destroyed. It is not a book, it is a sentient mathematical concept, and it merely changes form. It adapts to the era it inhabits. It no longer requires vellum, leather, or ink to spread its influence. It requires only attention. It requires a screen. It requires you. You have been engaged with this declassified file for nearly 18 minutes. Tell me, how many times did I mention the word eclipse in this broadcast? Was it 3 or was it 4? If you cannot immediately remember, the cognitive degradation has already begun. Look closely at the objects on your desk or the room you are sitting in right now. Are the shadows pointing in the correct direction? Is everything exactly where you left it? Or is the Codex currently rewriting the architecture of your reality, using the very pixels of this video as its ink? To halt the temporal erasure, you must immediately initiate the archive's visual containment protocol. Leaving a like on this broadcast acts as a cryptographic anchor, tying your personal timeline to our secure servers. It proves you existed at this exact moment. Furthermore, subscribing to Archive 0 grants you Level 2 authorization. This shields your digital footprint from the void, ensuring your memory is not absorbed by the algorithm. Do not wait. The shadow is already expanding. You will need that clearance, because the anomaly cast by the Blackwood Library has just been detected moving across the Atlantic Ocean. Our next declassified file, The Geometrics of the Deep, will test the limits of oceanic pressure and human sanity. Anchor yourself in reality before the sun goes silent again. We are Archive 0, and we are watching.